Hey guys, this is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. Co-host number one. I saw her. She hasn't been down here forever. Hi guys. Surprise! I got kitty cat. Mwah. Say hi, everybody. Okay, you get down. Haven't had her come and join us for a very long time. But anywho, back to the program. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind blown moment, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the video. And if you're interested in all the lovely pieces of artwork, not the sage, please see my website, alleycatcreations211.com, and email me if you're interested in anything. It feels like I have epoxy on my shirt. I'm probably so do. Yes, I do. Fun. Can't wait for that to harden. I did some oil painting today. I haven't done it in forever. So I'm really excited. Very excited. I don't ever win, do I? No, I don't. Had to change. At least I got it off my arm. Sorry for that, guys. So yeah, I've been busy painting, like oil painting. I love oil painting. And yeah, fun times. So last time I read The Secret Doctrine by Blavatsky, because I was getting tired and my eyes were going cross-eyed, and Blavatsky's very long. So I cut the last part in half of the vicious circle, and then we'll continue on from there. So I wrote down where I left off so I wouldn't get lost. So we will start. And to the new subscribers, hi. Make sure you go backtracking. If I'm in the middle of a book series and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, like, it's best to start from the beginning, but yeah, not easy. Quote, see now what a curious contradiction this fundamental principle of the materialists is leading them into, writes Butleroff. The atom is indivisible, and at the same time we know it to be elastic. An attempt to deprive it of elasticity is unthinkable. It would amount to an absurdity. Absolutely non-elastic atoms could ever exhibit a single one of these numerous phenomena that are attributed to their correlations. Without any elasticity, the atoms would not manifest their energy, and the substance of the materialist would remain weeded of every force. Therefore, if the universe is composed of atoms, then those atoms must be elastic. It is here that we meet with an inscrutable obstacle. For what are the conditions requisite for the manifestation of elasticity? An elastic ball, when striking against an obstacle, is flattened and contracts, which it would be impossible for it to do, were not the ball to consist of particles, the relative position of which experiences at the time of the blow of temporary change. This may be said of elasticity in general. No elasticity is possible without change with respect to the position of the compound particles of an elastic body. This means that the elastic body is changeful and consists of particles, or in other words, the elasticity can pertain only to those bodies that are indivisible, and the atom is elastic. This is sufficient to show how absurd are the simultaneous emissions of the non-divisibility and elasticity of the atom. The atom is elastic, ergo, the atom is divisible. It must consist of particles or subatoms. And these subatoms, they're either non-elastic, and in such case, they represent no dynamic importance, or they are elastic also. And in that case, they too are subject to divisibility, and thus ad infinitum. But infinite divisibility of atoms resolves matter into simple centers of force, precludes the possibility of conceiving matter as the object substance. This vicious circle is fatal to materialism. It finds itself caught in its own net, and no issue is possible for it out of the dilemma. If it says that the atom is indivisible, then it will have mechanics asking it the awkward question. Something is not wanting me to read today, I'm telling you, but I'm going to fight it. The awkward question: how does the universe move in this case, and how do its forces correlate? A world but in absolutely non-elastic atoms is like an engine without steam. It is doomed to eternal inertia. Accept the explanations and teachings of occultism and the blind inertia I got my sage lit. I'm going to start that again. And I do apologize. Something is not right here. Accept the explanations of teachings of occultism and the blind inertia of physical science being replaced by the intelligent active powers behind the veil of matter. Motion and inertia become subservient to those powers. It is on the doctrine of an elusive nature of matter and the infinite divisibility of the atom that the whole science of occultism is built. It opens limitless horizons to substance informed by the divine breath of its soul in every possible state of tenuity, states will undreamt of by the most spiritually disposed chemists and physicists. The above views are enunciated by the academician, the greatest chemist in Russia, and recognized authority even in Europe, the late Professor Butler. True, he was defining the phenomena of the spiritualists, the materializations, so called, in which he believed, as Professors Zollner and Hare did, as Mr. A. Russell Wallace, Mr. W. Crooks, and many other fellow of the Royal Society do still, whether openly or secretly. But his argument with regard to the nature of the essence that acts behind the physical phenomena of light, heat, electricity, etc., is no less scientific and authoritative for all that, and apply admirably to the case in hand. Science has no right to deny, and apply admirably to the case in hand. Science has no right to deny to the occultists their claim to a more profound knowledge of the so-called forces, which they say are only the effects of causes generated by powers, substantial yet supersensuous and beyond any kind of matter with which they, the scientists, have hereto become acquainted. The most science can do is to assume the attitude of agnosticism and to maintain it. Then it can say your case is no more proven then is ours, but we confess to knowing nothing in reality, either about force or matter, or that which lies at the bottom of the so-called correlations of forces. Therefore, time alone can prove who is right and who is wrong. Let us wait patiently and meanwhile show courtesy instead of scoffing at each other. But to do this requires a boundless love of truth and the surrender of the prestige, however false, of infallibility, which the men of science have acquired among the ignorant and flappant, though cultured masses of the profane. To blend the two sciences, the archaic and modern, requires first of all the abandonment of the actual materialistic lines. It necessitates a kind of religious mysticism and even the study of old magic, which are I can't get that word out. It's like academics, but like a magician. Whatever. Will never take up. The necessity is easily explained. Just as in old alchemical works, the real meaning of the substance and elements meant are concealed under the most ridiculous metaphors, so are the physical, psychic, and spiritual natures of the elements, say, of fire, concealed in the Vedas, and especially in the Puranas, under allegories comprehensible only to the initiates. Had they no meaning, they indeed, all those long legends and allegories about the sacredness of the 3 types of fire and the 49 original fires personified by the sons of Daksha, daughters, and the Rishis, their husbands, who with the first son of Brahma and his 3 descendants constitute the 49 fires, would be idiotic verbiage and no more. But it is not so. Every fire has distinct function and meaning in the worlds of the physical and the spiritual. It has, moreover, in its essential nature, a corresponding relation to one of the human psychic faculties, besides its well-determined chemical and physical potencies. When coming in contact with the terrestrially differentiated matter, science has no speculations to offer upon fire per se. Occultism and ancient religious science has. This is shown even in the meager and purposely veiled phraseology of the Puranas, whereas many of the qualities of the personified fires are explained. Thus, Pavaka, the fuck ever, is electric, and whatever that word is, fire. Guys, I'm like being attacked. So please don't mind my energy. Please, like, put your barriers up. Something is like attacking me and I'm not letting it get my energy. But I really can't pronounce these words. So I do apologize, but I'm under attack. I don't like it. Pavamana, the fire produced by friction, and Sachi is solar fire. All these 3 being the sons of the Agni, fire, eldest son of Brahma, and of found a solution to my problem, because this book in Owaspy drives me batshit crazy, and I apologize because I don't like doing this. But I am not pronouncing some of these damn words because I'm not here to make myself look like an asshole for not knowing how to pronounce shit or projecting it, because my teeth will fall out. So I'm just going to point at the words. So the one that I really couldn't get was this one. And if you see it backwards, I'm sorry. Don't give a shit anymore. And then there's that one. And then that one. And then this long one. The fire Pitris. This one to this one, the fire of the gods. This one to that one, the fire of Asuras. Now all this shows that the writers of the Puranas were perfectly conversant with the forces of science and their correlations, moreover with the various qualities of the latter in their bearing upon those psychic and physical phenomena which receive no credit and are unknown to physical science now. Very naturally, when an Orientalist, especially one with materialistic tendencies, read that these are only appellations of fire employed in the invocations and rituals he calls the Tantrika superstition and mysticism, and he becomes more careful to avoid errors in spelling than to give attention to the secret meaning attached to their personifications or to seek their explanation in the physical correlations of forces so far as known. So little credit indeed is given to the ancient Aryans for knowledge that even such glaring passages as the Book 1, Vishnu Purana, are left without any notice. Nevertheless, what can this sentence mean? Then ether, air, light, water, and earth, severally severely united with the properties of sound and other qualities, existed as distinguishable according to their properties, possessing many and various energies and being unconnected. They could not, without combination, create living beings, not having blended with each other. Having combined, they assumed through mutual association the character of one massive entire unity and directed by spirit. This means, of course, that the writers were perfectly acquainted with the correlation and were well posted about the origin of cosmos from the undiscrete principle. As applied to Parabrahmam and Multiprakti conjointly and not to ether, the first cause or matter, as Wisdom gives it. The old initiates knew of no miraculous creation, but taught the evolution of atoms on our physical plane, and they first differentiation from Laya into the prototype, as Mr. Crooks has suggestively named matter, a primordial substance beyond the zero line. There, where we place Multiprakti, the root principle of the world, stuff and all in the world. This can be easily demonstrated. Take the instance, the newly published catechism of the, I'm going to do this the whole time, and I do apologize, but I am not butchering this book any longer. An orthodox and exoteric system, yet fully enunciated and taught in the 11th century. Its founder, so my long-ass name, born in AD 1017, at the time when European science still believed in the squaredness and flatness of the earth, of the cosmos, and another language. It teaches that before evolution began, Prakriti, nature, was in the condition of Laya and absolute homogeny. As matter exists in two conditions, the Sukshma, or latent, undifferentiated, and a Sthula, or differentiated condition. Then it became Anu, atomic. It teaches of the Sudaswata, a substance not subject to the qualities of matter from which it is quite different, and adds that out of the substances, the bodies of the inhabitants of, you gotta be shitting me. That one. The heaven of Vishnu, the gods are formed. And every particle or atom of Prakti contains Viva, divine. Is that an F or a, I don't know. I can't do italics either. I can't see them. Divine life, and is the Saraya body of the Java, which it contains, while every Java is in its turn the Saraya of the Supreme Spirit, as Parabrahman pervades every Java as well as every particle of matter. Dualistic and anthropomorphic as may be the philosophy of the, that word, when compared with that of the Awata, the non-dualist, it is yet supremely higher in logic and philosophy than the cosmogony accepted by either Christianity or its great opponent, modern science, the followers of one of the greatest minds that ever appeared on earth, the, see, I'm butchering it, this name, and Venetans are called atheists because they regard all save Parabrahman, the secondless absolute reality, as an illusion. Yet the wisest initiates come from their ranks as also the greatest yogis. The Upanishads show that they are most assuredly know not only what is the causal substance in the effect of friction, and that their forefathers were acquainted with the conversion of heat into mechanical force, but that they were acquainted with the noumenon of every spiritual as well as every cosmic phenomenon. Truly, the young Brahmin who graduates in the universities and colleges of India with the highest honors, who starts in life as an MA, colleges of India with the highest honors. I read that again and twice again. I'm getting attacked. With a tale initiated from the Alpha to Omega after his name, and a contempt for national gods and proportioned to honors received in his education in physical sciences, truly has he but to read in the light of the latter, and with an eye to correlate of physical forces certain passages in the Puranas, if he would learn how much more his ancestors knew than he will ever know unless he becomes an occultist. Let him turn to the allegory of Pervaeus and celestial Gandharva, who furnished the former with a vessel full of heavenly fire. The primeval mode of obtaining fire by friction has its scientific explanation in the Vedas, and in pregnant with means of who reads between the lines. The Trit Agni, sacred triad of fires obtained by the attrition of sticks made of the wood of Aswatha tree, the bow tree of wisdom and knowledge, sticks as many finger breadths long as they are syllables in must have a secret meaning, or else the writers of the Vedas and Puranas were no sacred writers but mystificators. That it has such a meaning, the Hindu occultists are proof, and they alone are able to enlighten science as to why and how the fire that was primevally one was made threefold Treta in our present Manvarata by the son of Illa, the primeval woman after the deluge, the wife and the daughter of I know this is ridiculous, guys. And I'm sorry to those who read Hindu. I can't do it unless you actually record yourselves pronouncing the words. I won't get it. Manu. The allegory is suggestive in whatever Purana it may read and studied. That finally ends that section. Oh my goodness. Again, guys, I'm sorry. I'm like rare form right now because I got a lot of defenses going on. You saw a fly, it went around. Don't know where it came from. Like I bit my lip yesterday. Well, the day before, it's still. I'm not letting it win. I just get frustrated. More at myself because I would like to pronounce all these words. And when I have tried to find the right pronunciation in Google, I still can't project some of those words. And it's not to be disrespectful. That's what makes me frustrated and angry at more of myself than anything else, because I'm not good at other languages. I'm decent at Spanish, but even at that, it's pathetic. We'll see how long this next part goes and how much I can handle. An attack on the scientific theory of force by man of science. The wise words of several English men of science have now to be quoted in our favor. Ostracized for principle's sake for the few, they are tactfully approved of by the many. That one of them preaches almost occult doctrines and some things identical with, and often amounting to a public recognition of our Fohat and his 7 sons. The occult, oh geez, Louise. Second one. The Vedas will be recognized by the every occultist and even some profane readers. If the latter open volume 5 of the Popular Science Review, they will find in it an article of Sun Force and Earth Force by Dr. B. W. Richardson, FRS, which reads as follows, quote, at this moment, when the theory of mere motion as the origin of all varieties of force is again becoming the prevailing thought, it were almost heresy to reopen a debate, which for a period appears by general consent to be virtually closed. But I accept the risk and shall state, therefore, what were the precise views of the immortal heretic, whose name I have whispered to the readers, Samuel Metcalf, respecting sun force, starting with the argument on which nearly all physicists are agreed, that there exists two agencies, matter which is ponderable, visible, and tangible, and something which is imponderable, invisible, and appreciable only by its influence on matter. Metcalf maintains that the imponderable and active agency, which he calls caloric, is not a mere form of motion, not a vibration amongst the particles of ponderable matter, but itself a material substance flowing from the sun through space, filling the voids between the particles of solid bodies and conveying by sensation the property called heat. The nature of caloric or sun force is contended by him on the following grounds: that it may be added to and subtracted from other bodies and measured with mathematical precision, that it augments the volume of bodies which are again reduced in size by its abstraction, that it modifies the forms, properties, and conditions of all other bodies, that it passes by radiation through the most perfect vacuum, that can be formed in which it produces the same effects on the thermometer as in the atmosphere, that it exerts mechanical and chemical forces which nothing can restrain, or as in volcanoes, the explosions of gunpowder and other fulminating compounds, that it operates in a sensible manner on the nervous system, producing intense pain, and when in excess, disorganization of the tissues. As against the vibratory theory, Metcalfe further argues that if caloric were a mere property or quality, it cannot augment the volume of other bodies. For this purpose, it must itself be volume. It must occupy space, and it must therefore be material agent. If caloric were only the effect of vibratory motion amongst particles of ponderable matter, it could not radiate from hot bodies without the simultaneous transition of the vibrating particles. But the fact stands out that heat can radiate from material ponderable substance without loss of weight of such substance. With this view as to the material nature of caloric or sun force, with the impression firmly fixed on his mind that everything in nature is composed of two descriptions of matter, that one essentially active and the ethereal, the other passive and motionless. Metcalfe based the hypothesis that the sun force or caloric is a self-active principle. For its own particles, he holds it as repulsion. For the particles of all ponderable matter, it has affinity. It attracts the particles of ponderable matter with forces which vary inversely as the square of the distance. It thus acts through ponderable matter. If universal space were filled with caloric sun force alone, without ponderable matter, caloric would also be inactive and would constitute a boundless ocean of powerless or quintessent ether, because it would then have nothing on which to act, while ponderable matter, however inactive of itself, has certain properties by which it modifies and controls the actions of caloric, both of which are governed by immutable laws that have their origin in mutual relations and specific properties of each. And he lays down a law which he believes is absolute and which is thus expressed. By the attraction of caloric for ponderable matter, it unites and holds together all things. By its self-repulsive energy, it separates and expands all things. This, of course, is almost the occult explanation of cohesion. Dr. Richardson continues. As I have already said, the tendency of modern teaching is to rest upon the hypothesis that heat is motion, or as it would, perhaps he better stated, a specific force or form of motion. But the hypothesis, popular as it is not one that ought to be acceptable and accepted to the exclusion of the simpler views of the material nature of sun force and of its influence in modifying the conditions of matter. We do not yet know sufficient to be dogmatic. The hypothesis of Metcalfe respecting sun force and earth force is not only very simple, but most fascinating. Here are two elements in the universe. The one is ponderable matter. The second element is the all-pervading ether, solar fire. It is without weight, substance, form, or color. It is matter infinitely divisible, and its particles repel each other. Its rarity is such that we have no word except ether, which to express it. It pervades and fills space, but alone it too is quintessence dead. We bring together the two elements, the inert matter and self-repulsive ether, and thereupon dead ponderable matter is vivified. Ponderable matter may be inert, but never dead. This is occult law. Through the particles of the ponderable substance, the ether's second principle, penetrates, and so penetrating, it combines with the ponderable particles and holds them in mass, holds them together in the bond of union. They are dissolved in ether. Interesting. This distribution of solid ponderable matter through ether extends accordingly to the theory before us. to everything that exists at the moment. The ether is all pervading. The human body itself is charged with the ether. Its minute particles are held together by it. The planet is in the same condition. The most solid earth rock, adamant, crystal, metal, all are the same. But there are differences in the capacities of different kinds of ponderable matter to receive sun force, and upon this depends the various changing conditions of matter, the solid, the liquid, the gaseous condition. Solid bodies have attracted caloric in excess over fluid bodies, and hence their firm cohesion. When a portion of molten zinc is poured upon a plate of solid zinc, the molten zinc becomes a solid because there is a rush of caloric form, the liquid, to the solid. In the equalization, the particles previously loose or liquid are more closely brought together, Metcalfe himself dwelling on the above named phenomena and accounting for them by the unity of the principle of action, which has already been explained, sums up his argument in very clear terms and a comment on the densities of various bodies. Hardness and softness, he says, solidity and liquidity are not essential conditions of bodies, but depend on the relative proportions of ethereal and ponderable matter of which they are composed. The most elastic gas may be reduced to the liquid form by the abstraction of caloric and again converted into a firm solid, the particles of which would cling together with a force proportional to their augmented affinity for caloric. On the other hand, by adding a sufficient quantity of the same principle to the densest metals, their attraction for it is diminished when they are expanded into gaseous states and their cohesion is destroyed. Having thus quoted at length the heterodox views of the great heretic, views the need only a little alteration of terms here and there. The same eminent scientist and original and liberal thinker undeniably proceeds to sum up those views and continues. I shall not dwell at great length on this unity of sun force and earth, which this theory implies, but I may add that out of it, or out of the hypothesis of mere motion as force and of virtue without substance, may gather as the nearest possible approach to the truth on this, the most complex and profound of all subjects, the following inferences. Space, interstellary, interplanetary, intermaterial, interorganic, is not a vacuum, but it is filled with a subtle fluid or gas, which for want of a better term, we may call, as the ancients did, ether, solar fire, ether. This fluid, unchangeable in composition and indestructible, invisible, pervades everything and all matter. The pebble in the running brook, the tree overhanging, the man looking on, is charged with the ether in various degree. The pebble less than the tree less than the man. All in the planet is in like manner so changed. A world is built up in ethereal fluid and moving through a sea of it. The ether, whatever its nature is from the sun, and from the suns are the generators of it, the storehouses of it, the diffusers of it. Without the ether, there could be no motion. Without its particles, a ponderable matter could not glide over each other. Without it, there could be no impulse to excite those particles into action. Ether determines the constitution of bodies. Where there is no ether, there could be no change of constitution and substance. Water, for instance, could only exist as a substance, compact and insoluble beyond any conception we could form it. It could never even be ice, never flint, never vapor, except for ether. Ether connects sun with planet, planet with planet, man with planet, man with man. Without ether, there could be no communication in the universe, no light, no heat, no phenomena of motion. Thus, we find the ether and elastic atoms are, in the alleged mechanical conception of the universe, the spirit and soul of cosmos, and that the theory put it any way and under whatever disguise always leaves a more widely open issue for man of science to speculate beyond the line drawn by modern materialism or called it agnosticism, rather to be more correct, than the majority avails itself of. Atoms, ether, or both, modern speculation cannot get out of the circle of ancient thought, and the latter was soaked through with archaic occultism. Undulatory or corpuscular theory, it is all one. It is speculation from the aspects of phenomena, not from the knowledge of the essential nature of the causes of cause of causes. When modern science has explained it to audience, the late achievements of Brunson and Kirchhoff, and shown the 7 colors, the primary of a ray, which is decomposed in a fixed order on a screen, and described the respective lengths of luminous waves, what has it proved? It has justified its reputation for exactness in mathematical achievement by measuring even the length of a luminous wave, varying from about 760 millionths of a millimeter at the red end of the spectrum to about 393 millionths of a millimeter at the violet end. But when the exactness of the calculation with regard to the effect on the light wave is thus vindicated, science is forced to admit that the force, which is the supposed cause, is believed to produce inconceivably minute undulations in some medium, generally regarded as identical with the ethereal medium, and the medium itself is still only a hypothetical agent. Auguste Comte's pessimism with respect to the impossibility of knowing someday the chemical composition of the sun has not yet belied 30 years later by Kirchhoff as claimed. The spectroscope has held us to see that the elements which with the modern chemist is familiar must in all probability be present in the sun's outward robes, not in the sun itself, and taking these robes, the solar cosmic veil, for the sun itself, the physicists have declared its luminosity to be due to combustion and flame, and have mistaken the vital principle of that luminary for a purely material thing and call it chromosphere. We have the hypothesis and theories only so far, not law by any means. And that will end it there. For next time, it's life, force, or gravity. That should be fun. And very more readily easier for me to read. And co-host number 1 was somewhere over there, last I've seen. I wanted her to say goodbye. And she's probably down here because of it probably ran upstairs, whatever is here. Again, I have like Fort Knox in the protection energy stuff, but if something came through because of a thought form or something more powerful than my protections, which is pretty damn high, I got a problem on my hands and I got to get rid of it. Fun times. More annoyance than anything else. So I do apologize for earlier. Again, it's out of sincerity that I get frustrated because I don't like to butcher words in other languages. Nonetheless, Awaspe and her book drive me batshit crazy. But that's just the person that I am. I want to be respected and respectable towards other people's religions, faiths, followings, and of their traditions. And I don't like these words that I can't get out of my mouth. So I just, please give me some grace and compassion here. But anyway, since lighting that, I feel so much better, and I got through that whole second half fine. So there is something going on. I want to thank everybody for hanging in there and following the journey with this book, especially because the beginnings of it were pretty bad. Not gonna lie. But sending each and every one of you love, light, protection, and shielding. I'm going to do a whole bunch of that right after this is uploaded. Gotta love it. Not afraid. I just more than anything else. So I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your week. Look out. I'm going to do another oracle reading either tomorrow or maybe Wednesday. It all depends. I'm supposed to finally get my kitchen table and some other things out of storage. I'm crossing my fingers. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, please enjoy, be safe, be seen, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.